Parents with nanny cams, what have you caught your babysitter doing? Wish I had a nanny cam. My stepsister was watching my brother with disabilities for me. She would dump out the contents of his capsules meds and use them later. Didn't find out about it till he started having seizures constantly and ended up in the hospital for the second time. This isn't a bad one. My parents caught the babysitter carrying our 60-pound golden retriever like he was a baby. Once, at the very last moment when no other babysitter was available, I hired one that is sort of notorious for not being good, not dangerous or anything like leaving the child unattended, but like the type where she would not console the child if they were crying, punish them for doing small things. While away I was very suspicious, so I continuously was glancing at the baby cam. The babysitter was playing with him, singing songs and completely engaging him well beyond the way you would expect somebody who was considered a bad babysitter to act. Essentially, what happened was the babysitter got hired by a crazy parent who didn't like her at all, so they spread a bunch of mumbo jumbo through the neighborhood. When I came home I gave her a very large tip, and she was the one I always hired whenever I needed a babysitter. TDLR, at the last moment hired a babysitter that was rumored to be bad. Turns out she was a really good babysitter who once got hired by a crazy parent who didn't like her, so they spread a bunch of BS. I've been a pretty regular weekend nanny for an amazing family for 4 years now. We've cycled through a couple different weekday nannies since I've been with them. There is only one monitor and it's in the little dude's room. Once the mom showed me on the camera why they let one go. Little dude said mommy said I don't have to do that. And the nanny snapped back, well it doesn't matter. Mommy is a bitch. And then dragged the kid out of the room by his shirt. Super fired. Not a nanny cam, because this happened in the 90s, and I don't think we had them in Scotland then. But my mum came home early one day because she had become suspicious of our nanny as my sister and I never slept after a day with her. She found both my sister and I in bed in the middle of the day. Turned out my nanny had been dosing us up with child medicine to make us sleep all day so she could sit and do nothing. This happened at my friend's child's daycare center. They were giving them Benadryl or something, pill form, and the kids were sleeping all day. My friend had chosen a daycare rather than a babysitter because she thought it'd be safer. This isn't an answer, more of an additional question. But how much of the video do parents with nanny cams watch? Or do they watch them on speed playback and adjust the speed to normal if they see something suspicious or noteworthy? My mom put a nanny cam on my sister's bedroom. The only disturbing thing my mom allegedly saw was the babysitter crying while holding my sister. Turns out the babysitter just had a miscarriage the day before. Well, a case which happened near where I live. Woman used to work. Husband out of country. Had a 2-year-old kid. They hired a nanny to look after him during daytime. Day by day kid started looking malnourished. So she set up a spy cam. Apparently the lady used to bring her kid and feed him all the food left for the kid she was supposed to babysit. Then she would feed the kid cheap biscuits. She was promptly handed over to police. That happened to my uncle. The babysitter was stealing formula for her own child and giving him watered down formula. My uncle got sicker and sicker. They fired the babysitter, but he eventually died. My story isn't that interesting, but I have a camera to check in on my rabbit when I'm not there. The biggest surprises were mostly just how almost nobody followed my pet sitting instructions. The one exception, ironically, was my brother, who claimed to hate the rabbit and always wanted to get rid of it. I got an alert one day that my camera had detected movement while my bro was there taking care of him, and I decided to take a peek. I opened the app connected to the camera and saw my bro walk into my room, lay on the floor, and start playing with my rabbit. It just warmed my heart. First rule of siblings: never show your siblings that you love them or their pets. When I was about 7, I was genuinely convinced for a while that my sister hated me. The typical "you're adopted, don't want to hang out with my little sister" attitude. That was until this older boy started picking on me and she punched him square in the face and gave him a nosebleed. I think sibling relationships are more complex than romantic ones. A friend caught his nanny hitting their kid for interrupting that day's binge of the TV show Friends. Hope the cops were cold. They were, but the police said they don't arrest children for interrupting TV shows. I travel the US for work and am fortunate enough to be able to bring my 2 beagles with me. They have never been away from my side longer than the time I've been at work. They are 10 and 13. I have a camera that I use to check in on them sometimes. Mostly because my larger beagle is quite the ingenious guy, opening doors, scooting chairs over places so he can jump up onto the counters, etc etc. Last year I was in Oregon and had to go home to Michigan for an emergency. I do not fly with them. I will only drive. So I was in a pickle and reluctantly hired someone off of Rover that was willing to come stay over at my hotel room for 3 days. She was great. Kept up on texting me about the dogs. Said things like tossing them a ball right now. So I would check in via the cam when I thought it was appropriate. This woman was amazing. Not only was she playing with them enough to make them exhausted, she was even teaching them new tricks, making them use their brains to solve puzzles, and even got my 42-pound beagle to get up on her back so she could do push-ups. She was an avid CrossFitter. I was extremely happy. A little late to the party, but here goes. My mom suspected our maid of stealing the silverware, and she's just ducking Nosy. Anyway, the maid was indeed stealing the silverware. I think that ended up being overshadowed by my dad ducking her, though. Thanks for the gold. Who knew my dad's infidelity would one day pay off? If watching adult videos has taught me anything, your dad was just punishing her for stealing. Not me, but my aunt's friend set up a nanny cam because she noticed that every time she changed her child's diaper, the child would start crying a lot more than usual. Turns out when they watched the nanny change her diaper, she would use Clorox wipes if they were nearby instead of grabbing the baby wipes. Edit. For anyone wondering what happened afterward, they fired the nanny immediately and the father became a stay-at-home dad. We have a security camera in my bedroom for my free roam bunny, so we can keep an eye on her whilst on work. If we go on holiday etc. Well, my dad is 50 and is a big bloke who acts like he doesn't like pets. Came over to visit one day whilst I was out. He went in my room and crouched down calling the bunny. He spent an hour trying to pet the rabbit and kept repeating in a soft voice, "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to pet you and see how fluffy you are." He just about shitted himself when I spoke through the security camera to tell him she's very fluffy. Edit. Thank you for my first gold. I definitely shitty my pants if I was randomly called out for trying to pet a bun. I mean, who wouldn't shitty themselves when they suddenly hear a voice from the heavens? My family bought one to see our dogs when we leave on vacation twice a year. It's one where they can hear us, and we thought it'd be great. We hardly used it. We also asked our maid to dog sit for us while we were out. Once when we looked at the feed, we saw the dog sitter there a solid 30 minutes early just petting the dogs and playing with them. She's since retired from working, but she was the sweetest old lady and we love her. Another time my dad left a wad of cash on top of the washing machine, about $600, and she put a rubber band around it with a note saying he misplaced it. Stories like this make me so happy. I was a nanny for a family for over 10 years. I moved 8 hours away, but sometimes I drive up to stay with them if they need me for a weekend. I miss the kids so much. I also babysat / house cleaned all through high school and college. I pride myself on never stealing a thing and never having laid a hand on a child. I'd rather maintain a great relationship and have guaranteed client base for years to come instead of a $20 object to porn. Most feeds see me do on a nanny cam was picking my nose. Lol. Edit. Yes, I'm a heroin addict. I made no attempts at hiding it. But great job, internet sleuths. I became addicted after moving away. The family knows. But they're my second family and still love me anyway, so it's almost like the addiction doesn't define me. Weird concept, huh? You're awesome. Good to know that there's people out there that babysit and actually enjoy it. Hats off to you. I could never babysit. But I have dog sitted and loved every minute of it. Sure, the money is cool, but spending time with dogs even cooler. We once caught the nanny putting charcoal to feed them as a snack. This woman claimed that she thought it was a snack. It was in a charcoal box. My brothers were 4. chasing my cats around with a broom, hitting them. Since been fired. Close bracket. My grandpa was staying with my parents, but they figured it best to hire the regular sitter to watch my younger siblings overnight, since they didn't think my grandpa was up to the task and they were attending a wedding a couple hours away and made plans to spend the night in a hotel nearby. They had set up a nanny cam in a couple room, my siblings' bedroom, the master bedroom, living room and kitchen, all motion activated. They normally wouldn't bother looking through the footage if everything seemed fine upon returning home, and their master bedroom cam had never been triggered before. When they returned they noticed that the cam in the master bedroom had been triggered, so they decided to take a look. Cut to footage of my grandpa and the sitter both naked aggressively making out from the entrance of the room, staggering while intertwined towards the bed, and then about 20 minutes of banging on my parents' bed. The sitter was about 20 years old and my grandpa was around 70 at the time. My dad called me immediately after he saw the footage, laughing his ass off. And I could hear my mom crying in the background, completely mortified from what she had just witnessed, and shouting at my dad to throw out the sheets and kick out grandpa. My mom called the sitter to confront her, and she just apologized and said there was connection or some shit to that matter. When she asked my grandpa what he was thinking, he just said, "At my age you must seize every opportunity." I wish there was audio for the build up. I lay awake at night sometimes just wondering what kind of game my grandpa was talking to get in that sitter's pants. Man, I wish I'm healthy enough to be able to do this when I'm 70. I was the kiddo. My mom often tells the story of how she watched me give a big ol' hug to my babysitter, who just broke down out of nowhere after serving me lunch. Turns out her dad had died a month back and it just wasn't a good day for her. I still remember you, Miss Yancy. I hope you're doing just fine now. We have a nanny cam, and we caught our nanny dancing with our baby, making him laugh and giving him kisses. She's the best, and the cameras gave us the peace of mind to know she really treats him like her own. Last year I was working for a family that had a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old. Toddler was down for a nap, so it was just me and the baby. I put on some Otis Redding and was singing to her, and her mom walked in the door as I was twirling her around Mayo. I was so embarrassed to be caught, but she thought it was the cutest thing. I pay my neighbor to feed the stray cats in my garden when I'm away for days at a time. And the camera caught my neighbor trying to come in by pole, bamboo, vaulting one time. He nailed it, amazingly. Not mine, but my friends. We watched her daughter's nanny playing with her, singing to her, and just being so lovely. She was so good that all the others' mums wanted to hire her. I got a nanny cam to keep an eye out for my elderly grandfather, especially when the homemaids were there. My grandfather started asking for lots of cash and couldn't remember what was happening to it. A brooch that my aunt was supposed to get disappeared. And then I heard reports of my grandfather being inappropriate with some of the home health aides. He was busted squirreling away his medication that he was supposed to be taking in his chair, giving money to an aide and sexually harassing another aide. Not a parent. Caught my little sister's babysitter catching a good hour-long nap at 2 p.m. while my 1-year-old sister was up having the time of her life destroying my PlayStation. We didn't have a nanny cam, but my mom set up the camcorder when she suspected our babysitter was stealing. And then caught the babysitter stealing. She returned most of the stuff when my mom threatened to report her to the police. I think she should still have reported her anyway. Now she probably just went on stealing at other people's places. I think she learned her lesson. Next time the camcorder will be stolen at first, or maybe accidentally pours water on it. This isn't something that I caught a babysitter doing, but I remember that I once saw on TV the case of some parents that went with her baby to the doctor because she cried a lot for apparently no reason. The doctor told them that she looked really stressed and asked them if they were doing something that could make her act like that. They didn't. Then the doctor and the parents noticed some really tiny dots in the girl's belly, and they had no idea where they came from. The babysitter told them that she had no idea, but they didn't believe her and secretly put cameras to spy what she was doing. Turns out that she was crazy. She was stabbing the baby with a needle from time to time and doing things like shaking her cradle incredibly hard to torment her. Of course, they called the police, confronted her, and she got arrested. Like this video and this good boy will be your mailman forever. We are Redditation, and we redditate every day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. Until then, check another video. Or don't. Either way, have a wonderful day, you magnificent people.